Hello and welcome to ISTV. We're in Dorset in the home of Wimhurst, the founder of Diva Cosmetics and business mentor extraordinaire. How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
I can never describe myself in just 3 words, guys, but I'll try. Focused, passionate and motivated.
How would you describe your early childhood?
My early childhood, I suppose, would be fairly normal, but then what is normal? Nobody ever has anything normal, do they? When I was about 7, my parents divorced and I ended up living with my father, which I suppose is pretty abnormal.
What was your first early business experience? What was your first business that you set up?
I was about 4. I can remember it wasn't a business, but it was my business experience, okay? And I was about 4 years old and I'd been given one of those chocolate Cadbury's chocolate machines where you can put in a penny and you get a chocolate out. So in those days it was a penny. And I worked out that it would cost me 16 pence or 18 pence to actually fill the chocolate machine. But if I sold them all, I'd get 24 pence. So I decided in my wisdom that I was going to go and start selling them on our road where I live. And my mum lost me. And she didn't even realise I was missing. And I'd been out there for a couple of hours. She thought I was in my bedroom, which I actually find really alarming as the mother of 3 small children. However, she'd lost me. I was out in the street selling chocolate. And when my dad came home, because in those days, they were still happy families in those days, but they came home and they were came home for lunch. And she was relating the story that she'd lost me for 2 hours. And he seemed completely nonplussed about that whole thing.
Did you make a profit though?
Well, yes, and I could tell my dad that I made 6 pence profit from these.
What inspired you to set up the Diva Cosmetics?
I had this yearning to work for myself, and then I went into the corporate world. When I came back from my travels, I ended up working for Revlon for 10 years, and I had this huge knowledge of cosmetics, but didn't really know how I was going to end up working for myself. And eventually the two came together, and I suppose the pivotal moment for that was the Spice Girls when they were out there singing then, I'll tell you what you want, what you really, really want. And I thought, you know what, girls? You can tell me what I want, what I really, really want, but what you're actually telling me is that there's a huge amount of girls that want to be like you, and they were at the end of the 90s where there'd been a recession, and it was all very dull and dreary and boring, but the Spice Girls suddenly brought vibrancy and passion, and they injected life into what was a really dull and dreary market, and I thought, where do you go to get that look? And that's where I actually came up with the idea.
Okay, so when you initially came up with the idea, what was the first actions you took to get that idea up and running?
Okay, first of all, I made it financially feasibly possible, and I'm not actually talking about making my business work. I reviewed my idea of creating a range of makeup for teenagers and to see whether that financially worked for whoever I would sell it to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I didn't do it from my perspective. Because I was employed at this time, I hadn't given up everything. I was still in the early planning stages. So I wanted to know and understand the figures. So if I were to go into a retail outlet and say, look, this is what you ought to do, I wanted to say to them, look, if you give me 7 inches of shelf space, I'll put in a nail polish in it, and this will convert you into X amount of retail sales, and you'll get this much stock term. So I looked at it from there to start with.
What was your reasons for setting it up?
Okay, I'd had at the very early stages of Diva, when I'd identified this gap and I'd fulfilled it, I'd got new look to take my cosmetics, and then I'd expanded it into lots of other retail outlets. I also had my eldest son, William. So I made this decision that if I ever fell pregnant again, I would sell my business and spend time with them. And so I did.
So if someone wanted you to mentor them, how would they get in contact?
Well, through my website, which is www.emmawimhurst.co.uk. But the most important element of any mentoring relationship is a match. And you have got to make sure that there's no point you having a relationship with your mentor and they actually irritate you because they're too energetic, they're too passionate, they're too quick. You've got to be able to work with that person and think, yes, your pace, your style, everything you say, I like.
You've recently released your book, Blue?
I have a copy, may I show you?
Tell us a bit about the book, what people can expect from the book, and how it can help their business.
Boom is a transformational book. It really will help you to control and grow and develop your business and take it from where you are currently to where you want it to be. If you're considering a business, it would be a good thing to review, because if you start off by focusing on these 7 disciplines, which I refer to in my book, then you have a good foundation in which to grow and develop. In fact, one of the London universities is using this for their summer exam questions, because they've used it as a practical guide to developing a business plan. And there was a section in the back of the book about this.
And obviously, a lot of entrepreneurs are always talking about their success. What kind of mistakes have you made in the past in your business that you would never do?
Oh, okay. There were 2 mistakes I made when I was recruiting, and I think recruiting people is very, very difficult, and I was certainly not good at it. But you know, the second employee I had at Diva was a friend, so that was mistake number 1. And the second mistake I made is that I was never very clear on what I wanted her to do. So how she could ever retain her motivation or her passion for a job that I didn't know what she was expected to do anyway. So needless to say, we parted company.
And finally, do you have any final words for any aspiring entrepreneurs out there, or anyone that's running their business and just trying to get to that next step?
I've got loads of words to talk to people about their business. I think what I would say when you're starting your business is be really clear on what success means to you, and I think I've mentioned that briefly before. But if you are very clear on what is success, and it's a very individual thing, and you write those down, and you're very clear on, so you'll know when you've got there, you'll know when you're getting there, you'll have something to refer to when the going gets tough. So I would say you really be very clear on what success means, because, and also to balance your internal motivators and your external motivators, and I don't think unless those are balanced you can never get it truly right.
What does success mean to you? How would you define it?
For me, at the moment it is doing something that I enjoy doing and earning sufficiently to pay for my children's education. But success is very personal, so what somebody else describes as success, even if it doesn't necessarily relate to your own success, I don't think that matters. It's just be very clearly defined. Because a lot of people set up the business because they actually want to create a network or a community. You know, and if they've created that with 10,000 people, then maybe that's success to them.
I know that you're writing a program that's to help businesses called Whisper to Boom.
Yes.
That's going to be released later on this year.
Yes.
Could you tell us about it and what we can expect?
Yeah, can I show you it?
You can, definitely.
Excellent. You asked me earlier about mentoring, and mentoring with me is quite an expensive investment, but it's, as with any investment, you get a huge return. So of course, what you invest, you always recoup. So, but a lot of people have said, but we want to work with you, Emma, and we really want a bit of that energy and that passion and that je ne sais quoi that I presumably have, and yet we can't afford you. Okay, so when somebody says that to you on several occasions, you really sometimes have to take action. So what I decided to do was to try and introduce, well, not to try, because we don't like to try, I am introducing, but taking, yeah, that's that works, to create a course that would enable people to be able to work in their own time to really help propel their business forward. And I've called the course From Whisper to Boom, obviously tying in with the Boom branding. And it is a 12-part course, which is made up of a DVD of me speaking and doing the 20 minutes or 20, 30 minutes, depending on how long I talk for, motivational bit as to why you should be doing this. You're not just going to get through the post a 30-page workbook and say get on with it. You've got, because that's never any good. You have to give reasons to people for them to want to do something. And just because it will help your business is sometimes not enough. So I have 12-part course connected all to do with your own business. And so you get a DVD and then a 30-page workbook from me every month for 12 months. And at the end of it, your business really, really have transformed and gone from very whisper to boom. It'll be booming, absolutely. But it does take a lot of work though. It's not for the faint-hearted. Anybody that wants to work for me for an easy life, forget it. You've got to be dedicated, focused. You've got to be prepared for a bit of hard work, and that's when your business will transform and move forward.
I think that's it. Thank you very much, Emma.
Thank you.
Thank you.